Good morning, everyone. Oh, excuse me, a little frog in my throat. Um, it is a beautiful sunny day here in Wollongong, and I'm so excited to see people joining us for our chat today. We're going to be speaking with the beautiful Ingerlise from 21 Gifts, and she is going to just share some really encouraging insights and wisdom, and to join us any second. And I know you're going to love chatting with her because she is just a ray of sunshine. Oh, and here she is. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. This is actually the first time that we have seen each other face to face.
How strange is that?
It is, isn't it amazing? The wonders of technology is that we have had a lovely friendship develop over phone call and email. And now we get to see each other face to face. And I'm so excited that you're here and that you are willing to be brave and actually show the face behind the beautiful words that you shared with our community last week. When I actually saw you interviewed a couple of weeks ago by the lovely team at Horizon, I thought, I need to talk to this lady. She is amazing. Such incredible positivity, courage, and generosity. And I knew that your story would be so encouraging to our community. So thank you for being brave, for being truthful, for being just so generous with your story and your time. And I know that just the feedback we've received from sharing your story a few weeks ago, so many people have been impacted, and you are shining a light on something that affects so many people, whether it is an unexpected diagnosis with a child or an unexpected life event. I just love the wisdom that you've shared around that. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to start asking you some questions.
I'll get my coffee ready then.
Yeah, that's right. So you're fueled and ready to go.
Mm.
So in your story, which is really around this notion of the upside of what appeared initially to be a down bit of news. Can you just let everybody know exactly what the circumstances were that your story focuses on, the unexpected news that you received a few years ago?
Absolutely. So about 4.5 years ago now, me and my husband Daniel were living in Norway, and we were expecting our first child, Maya. And we were like, you know what it's like when before you have your first child, you have no idea about anything. So we went into the hospital and I was like, this is going to be amazing. No drugs, put on the music. This is going to be fun. And yes, it wasn't. But, but it wasn't, it was actually a relatively easy birth. And then we were blessed with this amazing, beautiful little girl. And I just remember, like she came into the world and everyone said congratulations, and, people were cheering, and she was healthy as anything and scored, 10 out of 10 on that APGAR score.
Oh,
And people
wow.
were just saying like, oh my God, look at this little rock star you've got here. And, this is amazing. And then within 24 hours, that just all flipped. And we were called into a doctor's office and sat down, and they asked us, the first question that they asked was if we thought that she looked like us or anybody in our family. And I was thinking, I know I can see that Daniel is watching, and he'll, this will bring back memories, because I just panicked and I thought, oh my God, I've gone mad. Have I stolen our baby?
Such a
Because I
strange
just
question.
it's such a strange question, but what they were getting at was, she's different.
Right.
And I just think that was such a shit way, sorry for swearing already, to start it with, because, what they were telling us was that she's different than you, she's so different that she's not even going to look like you or anybody in your family.
Wow.
And yeah, and I just think that to break a child diagnosis that way, it just sets that, a different level of fear, because you just think, how am I even going to, did I get a child that's even so different that she's not even going to look like me? And that's
Wow.
a shallow perception. But to me, it was really soul crushing because I just thought, I'm not even going to recognize myself in her, which of course,
Wow.
again, is a complete lie because you've seen pictures and, that she looks
There is
very,
no question.
she looks very much like our family. And it's just an absolute joy and gift. But unfortunately, her entry into this world, it wasn't characterized by the normal celebrations because of that medical stigma, and I guess the stigma of society as well.
Mm. So
Mm.
they shared with you that they believed that she had Down syndrome.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you identify about that experience is that it wasn't just the fact that that was an unexpected bit of information to hear, but the way that information was communicated. We've already got a little taste of that with this question, do you think she looks like you? But even beyond that, the tone
Yeah.
and the style in which that information was then shared with you. Can you speak a little bit about how that happened and the impact that had on you?
Absolutely. Because like I said, we went from congratulations and look at this beautiful baby with unlimited potential to stories within 24 hours. One of the doctors cried. They said they had bad news, not unexpected news.
Wow.
Um, and then it's interesting because I think, and what I've learned from talking to other families, not just families of children with Down syndrome, but also other diagnoses, is that in those moments, it's not actually the word they say, it's not the diagnosis, but it's the body language, because your mind, it just shuts down because you're a new parent and you love your child more than anything else. So you're kind of going into panic mode and just, I felt like my mind was shutting down, but my heart was observing everything else that was going on. And it was that change in emotions. It was the very, the sad faces and the tears and the body language and everything just going like, this is now a family to feel sorry for.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what impact did that have on you as you processed, deeply unexpected news?
Yeah.
And the more you begin to understand what that diagnosis means, obviously, it's going to present some new challenges and more information that you have to process. But how did you feel in that first sort of 24 hours post diagnosis?
I felt absolutely broken and shattered. And I just I felt like somebody had pulled the rug from underneath me, because I'm a very optimistic person. Everyone who knows me knows that I see the opportunities in life and I see, the good in things. And I'd never, ever in my life been confronted with somebody who just told me all the things that could go wrong in a human life. Right. So I just felt like my whole approach to life was just taken from me, and that somebody were trying to replace that with a very sad and dire roadmap to a life of languishing. And I just knew straight away that's why I got angry. I think me and my husband in those early days, I got really, really angry because I felt it was so unfair to my daughter. That people were suddenly limiting her life before they even got to know her. And it was small things, in the hospital, people saying that she wouldn't be able to breastfeed. And then, of course, she did. Oh. And I just kept, we just had all those bumps happening. And I kept saying, you see, it's not, what you're telling me is not correct here. And you've got to see this child, not the diagnosis. Because, and I said to the doctors, you told me when she was born, she scored a 10 out of 10. She's healthy. And now suddenly you're telling me all the things that are probably wrong with her, but you don't know, and no one knows. And to me, it was just, I think that's where my anger came from, because I felt that this was very, very unfair to my daughter. And I felt that people boxed her and my family into some square that I did not want to be in. And I knew that it wasn't right for our family.
So you talk about the fact that you and your husband decided quite early on that you were not going to accept that tone, that language, that expectation that people were placing on Maya and your family of less than. Where did you get the resolve and the conviction to actually stand up against professionals, specialists, people that we've been educated to trust as being of greater authority. They're the experts. But there was something in you that just said no. That I'm not. Have you always been stubborn?
If my mom was watching, actually my mother-in-law is watching, and she'll probably say that I am. Yeah, and I think that's it. I think we literally, it wasn't a choice for us, because we just looked to who are we as people, you know, what are our dreams, what are our values, and they just clashed so, you know, immensely with this picture that we were presented, that we just sat down and we just looked at each other and we said, we can't do this. Like, we have to stay true to who we are. We have to stay true to what we believe in, and, you know, our values. And if we do that, then we'll be able to create the most amazing life, because we already knew we could, you know, we already loved Maya more than anything in this world. And when I looked at her, I just saw that, oh, you know, you see life. But I think for me, what I also saw was somebody who needed somebody to cheer for her from the beginning and be that. And I saw, I can see, well, I can picture my husband laughing right now, because we were sitting in this hospital room overlooking a city, and I said to him, I don't even know how we fit into this city anymore, you know, but I know that we will fit in and we will make it ours again. And how amazing is it that we've now got a baby who is so full of zest, but also who will bring, because, you know, everyone talks about that slow, you know, how having a child with a disability will slow things down a little bit and make you stay true to your values. And I said, that's something we've always wanted to do, but we've got caught up in life, you know, so we were running the corporate rat races and, you know, doing all that. And I said, you know, this is our chance to really stay true to who we are. You know, our girl is literally made for us, because she will help us, you know, stay mindful in our lives in a way that maybe another child wouldn't.
Wow. That's a really courageous and humbling journey, I imagine, to actually be pushed into that space where values that can be intellectual now have to actually be expressed. And as you've said, this is now our opportunity to live out what we say we believe. But having a newborn in any form is overwhelming and full of the unexpected. But when there are additional potential medical challenges and developmental variations, I suppose, how do you balance the practical realities of having a little girl that has some challenges that perhaps some other children don't have, yet at the same time maintaining what my small observation of your life, but having read everything that you've written, just this relentless commitment to optimism and positivity and possibility. How do you balance those two things? Because sometimes the practicalities are just really hard.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's so true for all parents, you know, disability or not, is that, you know, life is hard and parenthood is really, really hard. And to me, it's been about being real and really just narrowing down on, you know, what can I do something about? If I can't do something about it, like the fact that, you know, Maya does have a mild to moderate intellectual disability. That's, you know, a default because she's got Down syndrome. And I can't change that no matter how much I would want to change that. But what I can do is just make sure that I give her every opportunity to be that best version of herself. And what I've come to learn is that, you know, in the beginning, that meant that I fought a lot and I was really, really committed to, like, you know, to drive out that potential. And then, you know, 4 years in, I've realized that my job is actually to sit back a little bit and let her flourish in her own way. Because it's not about, you know, it's not about making her, it's not about her abilities. It's about her personality, and it's about making sure that she, you know, she grows into whoever it is that little girl is meant to be. And then I just do like any other parent, is like, I help her in that. And sometimes that looks a little bit different than with a typical child, or typical child. I hate those phrases. You know what I mean? But sometimes it looks a bit different to how I have to help Lola, for example. You know, Maya needs a little bit more help to learn things. But you know, when you give her that help, she learns. But what I do find is that the more I put pressure on her, you know, the less fun she thinks it is. She doesn't want to do that. Right. So my job is just to make sure that I set that, you know, I just help her follow her passions and her interests. And then I'm there to help her if she needs help along the way.
So can you just speak a little bit about that journey of parenting, about managing your own expectations, some of which you possibly didn't even know you had until they're not being realized the way that you thought they would. I'm inspired as a parent of young adults. I feel like you have learned lessons that I'm just still getting my head around about learning to allow my children to be the fullest version of who they actually are, rather than the person that I thought or believed they should be. And so I'm inspired as a parent of young adults, and I know that you're inspiring people who have children of a similar age and of any age. But what's that been like? Did you have expectations maybe in the secret places of your heart that you had to let die?
Oh my God, yes. I am the biggest daydreamer. Like, I love to daydream. It's like, you know, when you ask people if they have a hobby, and I'm like, yes, I daydream. So I had huge dreams for Maya. You know, she's my first. So you know, and what I realized very quickly, of course, is that no child would ever fit those daydreams, because, you know, she was going to be, you know, possibly the best human being in the entire world, inside and out and intellectually. And, you know, it was just, you know, and I thought, like, you know, when I first started this journey, and the doctors, they tell you to grieve. They tell you to grieve the child that you thought you were having. And I was so angry. It made me furious, because I was like, how can I grieve? You know, my baby is here and she's amazing and she's perfect in her own way. But how can I at the same time grieve? I felt like it was more grieving the loss of that daydream. Yeah. And then what happened, and which is why what I think is so fantastic, is that I realized that my daydream didn't actually have to change that much. It was just the fluffy stuff around it that had to, you know, so the achievement-based things, that at the bottom, like, you know, at the core, everything that I wanted for Maya, I still wish for her. You know, everything on that list it's the same that I want for both Maya and Lola, because it's about, you know, it's about quality of life. It's about self-love and self-worth, you know, and friendship and love, and a place in the community, and all those things. It doesn't matter, you know, you can still do all those things. It's just, you know, it may look a little bit different, and she may not be the next, you know, prime minister, which, you know, I had on that list.
Just some average goals.
Exactly, you know, so that's completely fine. It's but I think it's really, like you were saying, it's about removing yourself and your ego from the expectations that you have on your children, and then just realize that, and that goes back to, you know, how you asked about those moments where you feel disencouraged. And I do that all the time. It's, you know, like, I'm happy and we have a fantastic life, but I'm a mom, so of course I feel discouraged, you know, all the time. And the latest, on the weekend, we were at the playground, and Maya wanted to climb up, you know those really weird, they like spider constructions almost. Yeah, you know, and it was a really big one. So Maya wanted to climb right up to the top of that with all the other kids, but she can't, you know. And as a mom, that breaks my heart, and I feel those pangs of sadness. But then I've got to step to the side, because that's my ego talking. That's, you know, it's got nothing to do with her. Because then if I just, you know, breathe and just look at her, I can see that she's actually having a really good time. And she takes on a different role then. She takes on the role of like a cheerleader. So she will stand at the bottom and she cheers some people and she, you know, and she pushes people along and, you know, and I think, well, that's great. I've got to let her do that, even if my natural instinct is just to be like, you know, come on, let's try something else.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So,
amazing. And so many beautiful things that you're learning from her, even as you are teaching her. I loved in your story, you use the phrase that Maya is the perfect version of herself, as we
yeah.
all are. And it just struck me when I read that phrase that for a lot of us, I feel like we don't know that yet as adults. But you have in this little girl somebody who is on a daily basis showing you how to really embody your own unique identity and contribution to the world. Again, how did you get to that place where that you see her that way, that you see every person that way? I feel like that's quite a significant core value that changes the way you engage with the world. If you have this understanding that you can be the perfect version of you, and that's all really that's the only reasonable expectation, not to be anybody else or meet anybody else's expectations, but be the perfect version of yourself. How did you already have all that sorted before you became a mum, or
I wish. No, but it's funny, like on paper, I did, because my professional background as well, about 10 years ago, I went back to school and I did a master in coaching psychology, which focused a lot on positive psychology.
right?
So, yeah, so I had done, you know, all the intellectual and academic work around that. And professionally, I was actually working in this field, teaching it in corporates, to big corporates. Yeah, so for me, when I had Maya, it was a fantastic opportunity for me to take what I was actually teaching people and apply that to my own life. And I think then, you know, like one of my biggest, I think it's like, what is it? It's like my approach to life in general is that, you know, look for the strengths and opportunities. And that goes for within ourselves as well. So the minute I started doing that with Maya, it was just, you know, it was like this new world just opened up, and she made me so much braver, because I thought, you know, if this child is going to do this, it means I have to do it as a parent as well.
So I can understand how, you know, you've got the right foundation as a parent, and nobody loves your little girl like you and your husband do. And so there is sort of that love that carries its own energy and momentum with it. But thinking of people that are in a situation similar to the one that you are in, what happens when you bump into, rather rudely at times, the rest of the world that don't share that same perspective and like to throw back at you the less positive perspective that maybe unintentionally, you know, say or do some hurtful things that. So how do you manage that as a mum, as a woman, as someone who's so invested in the best possible life for both of your girls? But so how do you process that when somebody tells you all the things that you're quite determined to not spend time thinking about? What's your strategy?
I just don't listen. No, I'm joking. You know, I'd love to say that I've got that figured out, but it hurts. It's, you know, the reality is that some days you're fine and you can take it, and other days you just don't see it coming, and you don't, you know, you don't guard your heart. And I'm also mindful that I don't want to be too guarded, because I want to be that experiencing life to the fullest. So I don't want to put a wall around me to protect myself. So I find that the easiest way for me to do it is I just remind myself that whoever is not in our circle, they don't actually matter that much. As long as I can build a really strong bubble of love around me and my family, and that includes, you know, our wider community around us. As long as I have that in place, then whatever happens outside of that, it doesn't matter. And I try really, really hard to just kind of let that be like water off a duck's back. Yeah. because yeah, but it does hurt, and people do, you know, say strange things, but sometimes it's the looks that hurt more.
So
Yeah.
how do you process those things? So I guess what I'm hearing from you is that at times you're able to just dismiss or reject it immediately, and it doesn't even really infiltrate. But
Yeah.
there are other times when it does either pierce through or seek through the bubble that you've put around you. So when it does come in, then what do you do? What do you do with those sort of insidious little voices that are full of doubt and fear and negativity?
Mm.
How do you
I
hand?
I cry. I think
Oh, that's a relief. Me
I
too.
know, but you know how you go, you know, you have to. It is, crying is so good for you. So I try, because I don't cry easily. I'm sure, like, you know, Daniel watching this now would be like, what do you mean you don't cry? Because I just cry in the shower. So I will go and have a very long shower. But I try to actually then feel those feels, because I think the more you try to fight them, the more impact they will have on you. So I try to make sure that I try to actually really take it in, feel all those feels, and then I challenge them.
Great.
So then I remind myself, you know, I look at, you know, whether it was a statement or if it's just a look, you know, I question it and just go, you know, how does this really impact, you know, did Maya notice, first of all? If she didn't, then I'm like, that's fine. You know, I'm the mom here. I can deal with this.
Right.
If I think that Maya noticed, or I think that it's something that she will notice later, then I try to come up with strategies for how I can change that in the future. Yeah. So that goes, you know, it's small things like making sure that I connect with all the moms in our local community to make sure that they all know Maya from she's little.
Wow.
Yeah, and just, yeah, I intentionally try to create relationships within our bubble, but also to grow that bubble that I was talking about, that protective bubble. Yeah, because then I think, you know, if I can do that, I can take it. I don't care, you know, hurt me, that's fine, but do not hurt my daughter.
Yeah.
So I kind of think, you know, if I can just, yeah, I can be that punching ball to make sure that she never has to experience some of those things. And that goes for my, you know, for Lola as well. I don't want my, you know, I don't want my sister to have to, you know, to have to experience some of society's prejudice against disability. So I will do whatever I can do in our bubble.
So I think that's phenomenal wisdom there. You know, create a safe environment, be intentional at expanding that environment. Did Maya notice? Okay, no, she didn't. So now I'm going to process it personally. If she did, what's my strategy? I mean, that's all fantastic. I want to know, how do you energize, and then you get to cry if it all gets too much, which is a relief because I do that too. And I always feel better.
Yeah.
But how do you re-energize yourself? How do you take the time? What is it that helps you stay strong so that you can actually carry that extra burden of pain or protection that's required? How do you look after you?
Yeah, I do that by doing my favorite things. So I hang out with my friends. I've got amazing friends, a fantastic community around me. So I will reach out. And I do, you know, nature has always been very, very important to me. So I make sure that I get out. And we live just on the border to the bush here. So I go for bushwalks. I walk up to my local, it's the small things in life I find. It's like, you know, I go to my coffee shop and just have a chat and get my beautiful coffee in the morning. I just look at the sun and just breathe in, you know, the freshness of the day. And I drink red wine because I love it.
And it's good for you.
It is good for you. Yeah. But I find that, you know, I think if you find the interests, the things that make you happy, the things that are aligned with your values. So for me, you know, when I say, you know, I reach out to my friends, it's because play is actually really important to me. So I reach out to my friends, and yes, we have serious conversations, and I can talk to them about whatever is going on in my life.
Mm.
But I really, what really energizes me is to move past that. I may just,
Yeah.
like I'll dump it, and
Yeah.
then I go, okay, let's move on to something that energizes us.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, that's great. Great insights. And as part of you enlarging your bubble and in reaching into your community, you've established this phenomenal initiative called 21 Gifts. And I'd love you to just share a little bit about what's involved and where the energy and the vision for that came, because I feel like it's one thing to be adapting and enlarging and, investing into your own family, but you've taken that a step beyond and are really reaching out and connecting with other families. And I find it, super encouraging and really a beautiful mission that you've established. So can you talk a little bit about that?
yeah. To the point where not doing it was taking more energy than doing it. When you've been dreaming about something and you really want to do something, and then it gets to the stage where you like, because where you actually just have to do it because not doing it seems more difficult.
Is exhausting. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I planned it for years. It's it's almost embarrassing. If you actually look on our website and you go to the blog section there, you'll see that I set it up in 2017.
Oh, well,
Exactly. So I started working on this, years ago. And I intentionally didn't change the date in that blog because I thought that's actually a beautiful reminder to myself to just sometimes, jump out there, like dare to do things before it's perfect.
Yeah. Wow,
But
I
yeah,
love
so
that.
so it's been years in the making. And the first email that I had with a hospital about this was also back in 2017. So it's
Wow.
really been a long, it's been thought through to make sure that the impact of it is as big as it can be. Because I think, how can I say this? So I know that 21 Gifts is a community per se as well, but there are so many amazing communities out there for parents with kids with disabilities. So I didn't want to create another one. What I actually wanted to do was create something to help the health professionals because they are, they are so amazing. So I wanted to make sure that I wanted to make sure that I did something to help them celebrate any baby born, disability or not, in the hospitals, so that beginning, that opening chapter of a baby's story could be changed right then. Because once you
Right.
know where to look, there are amazing communities out there. So I just wanted to be that. I wanted to get into the hospitals and really make sure that no one feels as alone as, as we did. And that those really, and also that, you can tell I haven't had my morning coffee, that I'm drinking it as we speak, because I'm like, I can't find the words here. But what we wanted to do is take this baby suitcase, this welcome to the world baby suitcase, and use that, almost as a strategic vehicle to get into the hospitals, so that when the professionals give a diagnosis, they also have this beautiful gift of hope, that enter into the conversation, because I feel like that balances it. It pictures, it balances the picture of what a diagnosis is from that very beginning and shows you that you're not alone, but it also makes the health professionals remember that, this is a baby and this is meant to be, this is meant to be a celebration.
Yeah.
Because I think, you think about them, like they have, health professionals are the superheroes of today, and all they want to do is give the best patient care. But it's hard, and delivering, a child diagnosis, I can't imagine, something harder, because that no matter what the views on life is, parents will get tossed around by it, because it's really, really difficult. And that's why I feel like by giving them this suitcase, it helps them be aware of the power of their own body language and the words. And it's almost hard to deliver that diagnosis then in a really sad and, like crying way, because they've got this gift.
Yeah.
So that gift, it's like a visual prompt to them as well, to remind them that, yes, we've got a diagnosis here, but we have a baby, and that's more important.
Wow. I love that, because it is about equipping people who do have a really challenging job to do, in the
Yeah.
course of many, they're seeing multiple people every day as well with all
Yeah.
diverse sorts of challenges. But to say the medical position is not the whole picture. And
Exactly.
here's a reminder that there's a much bigger story that's going to be written than the one that seems to be right in front of you right now. And so I love the heart behind it. I love the substance of it. If people are listening and something's resonating on the inside of them, is there some way they can connect with what you're doing, either championing or supporting or in any way connecting you? Like what's your need at the moment to really keep the mission moving?
Um, it's such a great question because this is all about teamwork.
Mm.
This is not me and Daniel sitting at home here doing this. It's been teamwork from the very, very beginning. We've had amazing friends like, I think Shara, I can see Will, Tanya here, who's actually one of my favorite OTs and friends in the whole world. She donated some of her time as a gift into these gift
Wow.
bags. My friend Shara single-handedly filled up 6 suitcases by going out to her friends and collecting gifts. We had our friends Nathan and Jane develop our beautiful logo. We've had a friend do up all our graphics. So it's really about teamwork. And like I said, the biggest players on this are the health professionals. So I think they are what makes this go around. But if you want to support us, and it's like spread the word. That's the most
Okay.
important thing. Help us spread the word into hospitals. If somebody's watching and they are a medical professional, get it into, just send me an email or connect with me here on Instagram. Send me a message and we'll supply a 21 gift suitcase to your hospital free of charge. And then if people are watching and you work in the educational settings, book us in for a seminar. We do speaking engagements where we mix the parent perspective with updated information about what life with a little extra looks like in 2020.
Wow.
And the power of positive psychology in those clinical settings.
Wow.
So there are lots and lots of ways to get involved, and we also accept gifts. Because we've got, 21 gifts, this baby suitcase, it is packed with gifts. So if someone is sitting there and wants to contribute, send us a beautiful little baby gift. It doesn't have to be much, it can be a hand knitted blanket, anything. And we also have, I never like to point it out, but we also, of course, have a GoFundMe page.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I think I know that the first time I heard you speak about this, I thought, okay, what can I do to promote and bring awareness to what you're doing? Because I feel like it's a phenomenal message that is relevant far beyond just the world of Down syndrome community, but for any parent or person facing an unexpected situation or circumstance that they're trying to wrap their head around. Your approach about seeing opportunities, not just challenges, about seeing something as an unexpected piece of news, not a bad piece of news. That shifted me just the first time I heard you. I thought that's a great perspective. This doesn't have to be bad. It's just unexpected. And so I'm going to have to adjust and adapt. But that doesn't mean my life is over. And so if there's anything we can do, if you're listening to this now or in the future, then I would love you to, if you can go to either of the Instagram profiles that are here, but your website, can you say it so I don't get it wrong?
Yes, it's 21gifts.com.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And there's contact information there. And if you forget that or you don't get that right, then please contact me at the Shears Project and I will put you in touch because I know that community and teamwork are what makes these things grow. And there are so many people who are in this very moment having to navigate something they didn't see coming. And one word of encouragement, a little gift bag, a better informed health professional could be the make or break, the difference in how much they enjoy the life that they have ahead of them, and enthusiastically embrace the adventure that we're all on called life. Now, on your story, you gave a couple of phenomenal tips. And just in the interest of time, I'm going to refer people to our website, because they're or to the 21 Gifts website. Ingerlise has written 10 tips that are just really honest and helpful and practical. If you're in the midst of facing some unexpected news, some things to just keep you grounded and keep you energized. But in closing, if there are people listening right now who are in the same situation you were a couple of years ago, what encouragement would you want to give them from someone who's 4.5 years along this journey?
It will all be okay. And in fact, it's going to be better than okay. I think that's the thing, I call it a diagnosis storm, those moments when you're just being tossed around and you don't know up from down, and, everything seems really, really impossible. And the reason I call it a storm as well is because, like any storm, when it passes and when it calms down, it reveals a new, beautiful landscape. And that landscape is just, it's hard to describe, but you do come out on the other side a better person, a better family, and everyone's story is so different. So it's hard to give advice like that, because there are times where there are times that are really, really hard and difficult, and where you don't think that there is light at the end of the tunnel, but there always is some way or another. And I think that, like, hold on, like, just sit tight through that stormy phase. Treat yourself like you would your best friend. Just be really kind and gentle to yourself, and then know that, when things start to calm down, it will be beautiful, and it will look like a completely new landscape that you have the power to explore the way that you want to, and that's right for your family. So I think,
that's fantastic wisdom and beautiful insight. I just love your perspective on life, and you've been so energizing, and I think so full of hope, but not in an airy, fairy, fluffy way. That hope that's a little bruised and battered, that's got some rough edges, but just refuses to give up. That's the hope we all need, and the hope we can relate to. So thank you for being that voice of hope, and for building a community of hope through your website and the work that you're doing. I just want to reiterate, if there's any way, if you're listening, you can champion the work that's being done there, then please connect with us. But thanks so much for spending time with me this morning. It's been just an absolute joy, and I can't wait till we get to chat again. And please give your beautiful girls a hug from me in Wollongong, both of them. I look at them on Instagram and I think, oh my gosh, they're so cute.
We'll come down and see you soon.
Yes, there you go. That would be amazing. Well, you have a lovely rest of the day. It's just been so fantastic. Thanks, Ingerlise.
Thank you so much. Bye. Thanks.
Bye.